This conference will now be recorded.
And this is a good time to record it. And we're glad to see you all here, anxious to learn about coordination and listing or fabrication. And I still wanted to sneak in just a couple more ideas on calculations today. So we're off and running. I'm going to slip by this slide because everybody's been good about their mic, and I assume everybody can hear me. We're on this mission to model it, document it, calc it, list it, and coordinate it. And we're nearing the once through on all of that stuff. We have one more day next Tuesday, and I'm going to have you put your thinking caps on during class and over the weekend to think about those things you wish that we had covered that we haven't yet. I have about three or four things that I feel like I skipped over or gave short shrift to that I'd like to come back and help you with or highlight. So we're going to make a list of sort of random topics for next Tuesday. For today, though, we've got a little bit of calculation stuff to finish from lesson 3, and then we're going to talk about coordination. I'm going to talk about coordination in 3 ways: dealing with it right in Revit, dealing with it in the sort of traditional method, just wander around in Navisworks, find problems, relate that back to your Revit model, fix them, and put it back in Navisworks. And then a third workflow we're going to take advantage of is that Navisworks is used very heavily to create a clash report. The clash report is a um, very detailed, very intricate, long list of problems, and it kind of plays peekaboo with you. And I'm going to show you how to take that long list of peekaboo problems and put it into your Revit model, and it just says there's a problem here, 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 and here, rather than here's a list of problems, take a peek. Here's another one, take a peek. Here's another one, take a peek. Here's all the problems, and we laid them out on the plan view for you so you know where they're at. Um, Once we're through coordination, and this is a better order for things, you probably shouldn't be adding the couplings, the couplings, and the hangers before you know that you've got a clear path. There's fewer things to move around if you do the coordination before you do the fabrication. Once you got it clear, and that's where you want to go, then you're going to add couplings and hangers and then create a stock list. If we don't quite get through those last few things, they'll move over to next Tuesday, and I'll add them to the list of things that we want to cover Tuesday. So let's get to it. I'm going to go finish up just a couple of more ideas on hydraulic calcs that were only implied in what we did before, and I want to actually do them with you. So I'm going to go open the file that I sent you this morning. That's picking up exactly where we left off last Tuesday. And I'll leave this view on our PowerPoint here just as a reminder. We did a walker that got the entire building, and we calculated all 4 areas: the real high lobby, the lower level, the first and second floor, and we were surprised. The second floor came out the most remote. So I'm going to use it um, to talk about changing sizes, to talk about forcing it to start at a particular sprinkler, uh, to measure more carefully what the area covered per sprinkler is, and and add your own reference points. So those are the extra topics I want to cover today. Let me go ahead and get that open. And I did again this morning um, what we did for the last beginning Revit file. I I unloaded the 2 links so that you don't get stuck opening this project in 2023 and then have it by default open a 2023 version and have to upgrade not just what I sent you, but upgrade the links to it, and that takes just plain longer than it's supposed to. So this will come up without the links, and I'm gonna click on open dot 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 so that I can go to see HES. Here's HES, and in HES I'm going to that training folder, which is where I was hoping you copied this to, and there's start of day 4, and I'm going to open that. And there it is, our sprinkler system with 2 of the 4 remote areas, but I don't see the building. So I'm going to go to Insert, Manage Links, and in here that says those are not loaded. So I'm going to click on the first one. I'm going to say Reload From, and then I'm going to drive to CHES Training, and I'm going to go to the Revit project files, and I'm going to find the 2023 version. You might find 24, 25, or 26. And then I'm going to go to the engineering one. The name is hiding in there, so I'm now going to the engineering one, and I'm going to reload that from the 2023 version. When I pick OK, I'll have my building back. All right. And then I'm going to look for that section view that had the riser manifold in it. And in here, if I do a walker, I'm pretty well convinced that without opening that 3D view of everything, I'm pretty well convinced that I've got everything selected. And from here, I'm going to click another slide. I'm going to say the numbers might have been a little bit different, but the result I got on Tuesday was that remote area 1, that's that second floor, was the one with the least safety margin. It was the one in the worst shape. So I'm going to do a full calculation of that, get a sense for what it would take to make that work, and get reference points on my drawing based on a full calculation for that worst area. So run a complete calculation of the remote area, and when we come back, we'll get reference points and or updated reference points on our plan. So I'm going to go to the hydraulic calculations. And this time I'm going to go to RA1. I am not going to say calculate them all or just calculate a couple of them. I'm going to calculate a full calculation just for that one. I'm going to double check that I've got all this stuff filled in and that there is something hanging out on the other one. But that all looks good to me. The mains are mains, schedule 10, and the lines are lines, and the underground is underground. I heard a mic open. Was there a question coming?
Yeah, I've got one real quick. I'm using your file, start of day, and
Yeah.
it says there's no supply point. Um, I've got it all walkered, got the whole thing.
Okay. I'm a little surprised. It seems like I would have I would have gotten the same thing, but let's go put a supply point. I'll cancel this, and I'm going to go find the site plan,
Where is yours? Oh, okay. Yep.
and I want the supply point to be that T on
Yeah, it's
Springboard.
showing it for sure. I'll try walkering from that underground for, I guess.
Sure. WW, pick on the underground, and I got common 857 things when I did that walker, James. How many did you get?
I'll try it. Just looking like the one there, but so I'll do WW again, click it. There. I'm in
800.
better shape now. I don't know if it made it past the backflow or what last time. All right, thank you.
All right. So it doesn't matter what view I'm in. I'm best served by being in a plan view when I run the calcs. Um, but so long as all the pipes are selected, and I'm convinced 857 is probably a pretty good number. And if I go to run the calc, then it'll be considering all 857 pipes, fittings, and sprinklers. And now I'm going to click on RA1, and I'm ready to pick continue. Is there any other um, cry for help before we do that?
Yeah, Alan, I'm my continue box is grayed out.
Grayed out. Okay, so the standard solution for continue grayed out is switch back to the classic. On the left side there is the switch to classic mapping,
Hmm.
and there's a pull down that I'm thinking should have 5 different pipe types in it.
Yes.
Start at the very top, click on the very top one, pick load defaults, and pick apply. Then go to the second one, load defaults, apply. Then go to the third one down in the list, load defaults, apply. Fourth one down in the list. Probably the only thing you're missing is the underground, but all 5 of them do load defaults and apply. And by the time you get to the 5th one, I think the continue button will be lit up. Do I speak the truth? Don't pick it yet, but tell me if that lights up the continue button.
Do I switch back to the pipe type mapping grid
Um,
afterward?
yes, you do, but the continue button ought to be lit up no matter which
Yeah.
one of those views you're
No,
on.
it's I can click it now.
Okay, now when you switch back to the standard, because I load defaults, I have to tell the fire
Yep.
protection underground that it's underground, that the arms are lines, that the welded lines are lines, that the threaded lines are lines. The welded lines, I'm going to double click on the schedule 40 and double click on the schedule 10. And then I'm going to go to page 2 and I'm going to say that the mains are mains. Looking good?
Looking good.
Okay, go ahead and pick continue, and I'm going to get caught up to you in a second here. All right, so I'm going to remote area 1. I'm picking continue, and I've got one, so I'm writing over it. Okay, so now that I'm in here, I'm going to pick the calculate button, and I'm going to pay particular attention to this yellow stuff. It says I have 12 heads, and I'm remembering back to early on Tuesday, that was 4 heads on the first line, 3 heads on the second line, and 5 heads on the third line. I have 12 heads operating, and I have 1 hose flow. That's my 100 for the outside hose, and I have a total elevation change of 27 feet. When we did this calculation on Tuesday, we put the supply point at the top of the riser, and the elevation change was like minus not 0.9 or something. Now that the supply point is down out at the street, all that elevation is showing up in the calculation here. So I'm going to pick OK, and there's the bad news. It says I'm 17 pounds over the curve. I'll read a little bit more of the information on this dialogue. It says the flow required is 376 gallons a minute. That's about 0.1 times 1500. That's 150. Plus 150 plus 100 would be 250. So I'm scratching my head over that. If everything was perfect, all I'd need is 250 gallons a minute, and it says I need 376. And then it says that the pressure required is 70 pounds, and that's 17 pounds more than I've got. I'm going to pick OK. And we didn't spend a lot of time on this the other day, but what little time we did, I'm going to remind you of here. If I pick on this, after I've done the calc, if I pick on this button near the middle of all the buttons at the top there, it says graphical pressure summary. And if I click on that, it shows me that I'm using 12 psi. Well, it shows me first this multicolored bar is taller than this brown bar. And if they're the same height, it's like it exactly matches what I have is what I'm using. If this side is too high, that the difference, that 17 pounds, is how much pressure too much I'm using. Now, I'm going to read into the details a little bit further. The black part of this tall bar is the end head pressure. EHP is end head pressure. And that's 12 pounds. The light blue part is the branch line friction loss, and that's 26 pounds. If I got the branch lines to take a lot less pressure, I could get back pretty much all of that 17 pounds. I don't have any riser nipples. My mains are using 20 pounds. That's this yellow section. The green is the the fixed loss. That's the backflow, usually the backflow preventer. I think in this case it includes some pressure for the flow switch as well. And then the elevation is 11 feet. So there's something could be done about the black, the blue, and the yellow. Even the green, if I used a bigger backflow preventer, I could maybe reduce the green a little bit. The red, the elevation, there's not an awful lot we could do about. So the usual approach is I'm over the curve, make the pipe size bigger. And I think that's a part of our process. And I think the 1.25" lines are probably my first target. And I see I've got 2.5 in the mains also left over from, we said, we got plenty to use. Let's make the mains 2.5. I might put that back to 3-inch. However, the other thing I want to remind you of is that we're using 376 gallons a minute. We thought we should only need something a little more than 250. And the reason for that is we simply said, none of the heads are spaced any bigger than 14 by 14. So let's just say that they're all at 196. I don't think that's necessary. So I'm going to want to go back and do some investigation on that. In the meantime, I'm going to click on the 1.25". We did this. I'm going to remind you, if I say binoculars, find 1.25" and make it 1.5" and replace all of those. Okay. And I'm going to go find the, exit that, find the 2.5 binoculars, replace all the 2.5 with 3-inch, replace all, only one, huh? There was a couple hiding up here. 2.5, find with 3-inch, replace all, found 2 more. I'm going to exit that and run the calc again. Okay, so we're close, and the flow went down a little bit from 376 to 358, but obviously I need a safety margin, and 0.12 negative safety margin isn't going to do it. I'm going to say pipe sizing wise, I think that's what I'm willing to do. The rest I want to investigate this 196 for. I'll also,
Hey, Al,
yeah, go ahead.
out of curiosity, when you go to the graphical display, mine's showing a value. It doesn't look like yours because I guess for some odd reason the lower portion of that graphical on the right hand side is like going down to negative 60 or so. How do you set
You
that to
don't
where it just
set it. You don't set it. And I don't have a quick answer for why did it do that silly thing. I might need to look at that calculation specifically. It comes from the static, residual, and flow, which should be the same as for you and for me because you're using the file I sent you this morning.
Exactly. I'm getting the same exact results, just that graphical
Yeah.
display is got a cyan loss in the negative.
You know what? I think I have an excuse for that. I think if you close out the graphical thing and check out what's what over here. My first few pipes are 1 inch and then a bunch of 1.5 inches. I've changed the 1 1/4.
Correct.
And we
Likewise.
say LN-S for line
Correct.
straight feed.
Yep.
The 3 inch says main straight feed. The 3 inch says main straight feed. Down to the 4 inch, those all say main straight feed. And then the last one says underground.
See, my 3 inch for some reason still shows. I guess maybe I was supposed to change that to main or something, but it still
Yeah.
shows
So
line.
in that previous dialog box where we did the load default supply, when we switched back to the what I consider the good view instead of the classic view, I'm saying,
That's where I didn't change that.
yeah, you weren't
Yep.
paying attention, so everything wound up being lines.
Yep.
Okay.
Thanks.
And it has that whole point is how we're going to display that graph to you. So damn the torpedoes, full speed ahead.
Go for it.
We'll pay better attention when we get back around there. We're going to run the calc again anyway. So for now, I'm ready to close this and get back to the model. Any other questions before I do that? Okay, I'm closing the calc and I am going to pick return to Revit. And it's looking to place an answer block. I'll go ahead and stick it on this site plan. And it says there are 32 points, but there's still 1 point that hasn't been labeled someplace. I'll move him out of the way, and I'm going to come over here and see I've got reference point 2, and I've got reference point 3, and I've got reference point 4, and the computer kind of made those numbers up for me. Yesterday we used 201, 202. Today I wasn't paying a special attention, and it said if I need some more numbers, I'm going to start at 1. So it looks like it needed just a couple of more numbers. Back to the second floor. And on the second floor, I'm going to go to HydroCalc. And I'm on, which second floor am I on here? Second floor, copy 1. So I think I'm on the working, nope, working ceiling plan maybe. I got to pick one. I got to be working on one. Why don't I work on the second floor plan for the plot, because that'll have the reference points there. So this has the reference points, and I had moved them. They were sort of stepping on top of each other. And do you notice 201 is down here? Tom, would you hazard a guess why in the world it started the calculation on this third branch line in? Why didn't it start up here?
Not sure.
It's supposed to start at the hydraulically most remote point, right?
Oh, yep.
So it's like he thinks this is the hydraulically most remote point. Can we make an excuse why that might be? Anyone? Go ahead.
5 minutes on the line.
Yeah. Yeah, there's overage is a part of it, but there are 5 sprinklers operating on this branch line.
So I need more water out of this branch line than I need out of this one that has only 3 sprinklers operating. This is like a breeze here. This one needs 4. So of the 3 branch lines, this is the hydraulically most demanding one because there's 5 heads operating on it. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So one of the things I'm going to go over is, yeah, I know that's hydraulically most remote, but everybody likes to see the calculation start at the furthest place on the furthest line. I want to force that to happen. Let me stick with the slides to get us there. But the first thing my slides say that I want to look at is, do I really need 196 square feet per sprinkler? If I can get away with it, why not? And if while they're installing it, they need to move ahead a little bit, and they know to stay under 14 by 14, they can move it anywhere they need to make it work. However, that might be more of a tax on our pipe sizing than is necessary. So the first thing I'm going to do is say, let's measure the required area of that sprinkler, and let's consider using that instead of the 196. And I guess, Tom, I'm going to keep you in the hot seat for a minute if you're up for it.
All right.
How should we figure the coverage area of this sprinkler? Is it really covering 14 by 14?
No, we should be measuring to the 2 farthest walls.
Right. So if I click on it, there's a tool for that sprinkler down near the bottom under visibility that says show S by L. I'm going to click that. And do you see the 2 little boxes that show up there?
Yes.
The inner box is for the walls and the outer box is for the sprinklers. I'm just going to drag the sprinkler one out of the way a little bit. But because we're in a room, that doesn't really count at all. It's this one. If I take the inner box and I bring it up to this wall, and I go the same dimension in the other direction, it doesn't make it to that wall, does it, Tom?
Nope.
So the furthest wall would be over here. If this sprinkler is covering to that wall, then it's covering beyond the other wall. So I've got that covered. And in this one, Tom, should I drag the bottom one down to the bottom wall or the top one up to the top wall?
Yeah, probably the top one.
Probably the top one. So I'm going to pull the top one, and I can see that the bottom one goes beyond that wall. So now I'm measuring I'm going to double the distance to the 2 furthest walls. And if you look in the properties for this box, for this sprinkler, it says that the S distance is 7'6" by 7'6" or 7'7", and that makes the coverage area 229 square feet. Boy, I was looking for relief. Look what happened to me. I'm in worse shape. I shouldn't be figuring 196. I should be figuring 229. What do we do now? Put another sprinkler in there, Tom?
No, probably just let it ride and go to the next room.
Ignore it. It didn't give us the answer we wanted, so we'll ignore it.
No.
Anyone else have a trick we could use to get out of this problem?
Small room spacing.
Right. So there's also a rule that says that S by L is a requirement unless it's light hazard. Is this light hazard? Yes. And unless the room that you're in is 800 square feet or less, then it qualifies as a small room. And you can then simply take the area of the room and divide by the number of sprinklers. So what's the area of that room? We could draw a hatch pattern in there and measure the area of the hatch pattern, but Does anyone recall? No, you don't recall. It's not there yet. The architect kind of cared about the area of the room, and he created the rooms, and Revit knows which rooms are which. It also knows the areas of them. Where did we label the room names? Anyone have a recollection of that?
Floor plans?
It was there was the floor plan and there was the ceiling plan. So this is what we plotted for the floor plan, and down here this is what we plotted for the ceiling plan. Do you remember that? That was just Tuesday. Was it, or was it last Thursday? Last Thursday maybe. I said you got to create a ceiling plan that has nothing but the ceiling grids on it. And while we're at it, we'll put the room names and ceiling heights on. Then we'll put that on the sheet. Then we took the floor plan and put that on the sheet. So we already have room names for all of those things. The room name is reminding us that it's light hazard. But if I click on this room name thing and I go to the type, edit the type properties, there's the thing that says show the area. Okay, so how cool is that? Now I know the area of every room. I don't have to measure them. And to get them in a place where it's easy for me to see them on my sprinkler plan, I'm going to click on this thing. I'm going to right click on it and I'm going to say select all instances, visible in view. Now I've copied all the room names with the room areas. I'm going to Control C, that copies them. And then I'm going to go to the one we were just working on. That was the floor plan, second floor. And I'm going to paste aligned to the selected view. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to paste. I hope I still have them. Modify, paste, align to the current view. Some tags were not copied because they're outside the area, but good. Now I have the area of every room. All right, I'm saying I've got an excuse now to take all of the heads in my 1,500 square feet. I'm being kind of bold here. I'm taking all of them, just the sprinklers. I happen to pick 17 sprinklers, and I'm going to change their area, coverage area. I'm going to change that to 169. That's still playing a little loose, but if this head's covering enough for 169 square feet, this head I could go change to 156, but it would be sort of pointless, right? This head's going to get more water than that head because of overage. So if it's covering 169, it'll be covering 156. This one will be more than enough, and this one will be more than enough. The hallway, I'd have to do some, the corridor is 903 square feet. Can I call that a small room? What do you think, Tom? Nope. It's more than 800. So I got to go back and deal with the S by L for the hallway. So I'm going to take the head that we were doing S by L and turn that off. And I'm going to take this head in the hallway. And I'm going to turn the S by L on. And I'm saying the S, or the L anyway, the distance between lines, or heads in the line direction, is from this head to that head. And this wall, I've got to get at least to that wall, and it gets me at least to that wall. And then this head gets me at least to that head on the line, and this thing's got to get at least to that wall. Tom, is that too confusing to get excited about, or is that pretty damn cool? because it's way easier than measuring and getting out the calculator and multiplying.
Yes, it's easier.
Plus, if I want to go back and check it, it says that's what you measured. I measured to that head, that's the furthest head in either direction, and to this head, that's the furthest head in either direction, and to this wall, which is the same as to that wall, and to this wall, and there is no wall in the other direction. So now all of that gets down to the S by L dimension, which is the largest of the head or the wall thing times the largest of the head or the wall thing in the other direction, is 151 square feet. So I'm going to go change this 169 to 151. And that would be true for this sprinkler also. So I'm going to turn the S by L off here, and I'm going to turn it on here. And I'm going to measure the sprinkler one to that sprinkler. But that's not far enough to get me to that sprinkler, so I'll move it up to that one. And then this one, I don't really have to move the sprinkler one because I'm bounded by a wall on each side. So I'm going to take the wall and move it over to there. And that gets me more than close enough on the other side. So this one is 110 square feet. Now that could be a really big help. I'm going to make that 110 because that was the hydraulically most remote head before. But these ones, well, this is 232. So this head is, there's two heads in 232. This head, can't pick on them. That head and that head are both 116. And this head's only 84. And that's it. Now I've measured all the heads. I'm treating these all as 169. This one, I guess I maybe should check also with the S by L. Let me turn that on. Because that's got to get over to this head, which isn't getting me to this head, so it's got to get over to that head. And then the wall has to get down to that wall and up to that wall. And that gives me an S by L of only 58 square feet. So I don't need that. I can just use 58. And this one would be 58 also.
I'm not sure you got that last head all the way to the wall.
Okay, let
Not
me.
that it really matters.
This
I don't
one.
think you're going to fail your inspection.
You're right. I got it to this. No, I didn't get it to either wall. So 58 is a cheat. It should be 74. Now, some people would say, geez, Al, I haven't ever done this. What's this all about? Why do I have to do all this work? The answer is you don't. You could just call them all 225, so long as you got enough pressure and the sizes are reasonable. If you don't have the pressure, you can make the sizes unreasonably big, or you can be more specific with the calculation and don't cheat yourself by saying they're covering 225 when they're not. So I'm turning those back off, and then I'm moving on to my next slide. All right. So the computer came up with reference points. I'd prefer to use my own reference points. And if I labeled the sprinklers H1, H2, H3, H4, or S1, S2, we don't call them heads, we call them sprinklers. So I'm going to call them S1, S2, S3. and then where they connect to the branch line, I could use L for line or A for arm over. And most of these are on arm over, so there'd be an H1 and an S1 and an A1 kind of near the same place. And there's a tool to do that. So, Tom, you'd be okay with S1, S2, S3, S4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, up to 15? Or do you have a scheme you like better?
No, that seems fine.
Okay, so I'm going to go to calcs and I'm going to pick renumber reference points. And I'm going to make this, how about I make this 2 for second floor, S1. So second floor, sprinkler 1. And I'm going to continue. And I'm going to make that S1, S2. I don't know what's going on with that. My keep me safe from the world software is wanting to advertise itself. So there's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That's good. And then I'm going to hit escape and I'm going to go to A1. To A1. Continue. To A1, to A2, to A3. 4, something went wrong. Close. I started in the wrong place. So this is kind of good. If you mess up, it's trying to protect yourself and say, don't, man, this is annoying. I think I'm going to take my, drawing and put it on the other screen. And then I'm going to go share my other screen. Share something else, share screen 1. Okay, and then we're going to take these things and move them down here. Okay, you all can see my Revit again. Tom, you're seeing Revit?
Got it.
Yes.
There's a different solution for that. I don't know how to tell the security software to shut up and go away. And now it seems to have finally stopped, but it was showing up on one screen. Now it's not going to be showing up on this screen. All right. So if I renumber incorrectly, I'm going to start over with renumber. And bring this over here. I'm going to put XX1 just to get rid of the numbers I put on that I didn't mean to. And I think I've accomplished that. And then I'm going to start over at, now I've got a different annoyance going on. I'm going to start over at 2A1, continue. Warning, I've already used 2A1. Where is it? S1, S2, S3, S4. All right, it's going to be 2L1. Renumber reference points. 2S1, 2L1. L2, L3, L4, L5, L6, L7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Then I'm going to go to 2M1. Second floor, main point 1. And I'm going to do main 1, main 2, main 3, main 4. And then I'm going to go look at the this riser. And so I switched to the section view of my riser manifold, and I'm going to add this thing says all reference points. So if there are reference points in this view, it puts them there, and I'm going to call this BOR2. And then I remember seeing some on the site plan. You see how that's BOR2. I'm going to make this one be UG1, and I'm going to make this one be test.
I got a quick question. So when you move these, they don't ever lose the association, or?
They don't, and that's a huge difference. Thanks for asking that, because I wanted to brag about it. The huge difference between Revit and AutoCAD. In AutoCAD, it's a block whose location needs to be the same as the location of the point you're trying to reference. But here, it's the fitting itself has got the reference point in it. You see?
Right.
And then these things are simply a report of what's in that block, of what's in that fitting. So if I change this from test to SP for supply point, then you see the report changes. And no matter where this is, it's simply reporting what's in that fitting. So that's a good thing.
Yeah,
That's
thank you.
also what makes it possible for us to switch to any other view that's showing that stuff and say, just put reference points on here, because it's reporting the values in those fittings that are in that view. Okay, so now I've got everything wandering around in different screens. We've talked about renumbering the reference points. I'm going to force the calculation to start at the furthest point. So before 201 was down here and it was starting there. Now I'm wanting the calc to start here. I think by accident I'm getting that because this one's 169 square feet and none of the others are more than 169 square feet. That probably makes this the most remote. But my trick, if all things are equal, is to simply make that have a really big remote area till I get the calc opened and then put it back. So I'm going to illustrate that trick by going over to the second floor. I'm going to close that one. There's another second floor. I'm going to close that one and that one and that one. Okay, now I'm finally down to the second floor that I care about. And I'm going to take that thing that is at 169 square feet and I'm going to make it 269 square feet. Will that make that the most remote? You're for sure. And it'll make it so remote that I'll be reminded, gosh, that's not right. I need to fix that. Also why I changed it from 169 to 269. I can remember that I just need to take 100 square feet off of it. All right, so back here, I'm going to rerun the calc. I'm going to notice that the reference points are nice and easy to recognize, and then I'll come back and add those reference points to some more views. So over here, I'm going to do the walker. And I was convinced that the walker on any pipe is doing my entire building. So I'm going to start the calcs. I'm picking on hydraulic calculations. I'm going to calc remote area 1, and here's where I'm going to pay attention to the lines are lines and the underground is underground and the mains are mains. And I think that'll straighten out your graphical chart for you. And then anyone have a question before I pick continue? Then I'm running continue. I'm getting rid of the one that was there before. I've got a little fuel gauge showing up on my other screen. And then I think the next thing that's going to happen is the calc program is going to show up on the other screen. And I'll see if I can't drag that over here. So Josh, do you see what we've accomplished here? This is a lot I think a lot easier to read. Sprinkler 1 to branch line 1 to branch line 2 to branch line 3 to main 1, main 2, main 3. There's an extra reference point in there. And the extra reference point, I think, is coming from the fact that I've got 1.25 inches and 2.5. I forgot to apply the pipe sizes that we had figured out before. I am interested, though, before I, reinvest in that, to run the calc here and see that I'm 35 pounds over the curve. Oh my gosh. Tom, what did I do to make that so bad?
That crazy change you made.
Right. I shot myself in the foot on purpose. I'm going to change that back to 169 and then run the calc again. And look at that. Even with 1.25 inches and 2.5 and everything else the same, we're under the curve by 4 pounds instead of being over the curve by 20 pounds or 18 pounds or something. So that had a huge effect. And I'm delighted by that. I think I'm going to consider making those 2.5s be 3-inch. And run the calc again. And that gives me 6 pounds, which is 11% under the curve. So I'm happy with that. I'm going to remember to change that main from 2.5 to 3-inch in my plan. Questions before we leave here? Then I am going to close this. I'm going to return to Revit. I'm going to WS, not WW, but WS gets me that straight run of pipe. And I'm going to see if I can't just make that 3-inch. And if all you're changing is sizes, then the walker will recalculate the sizes. So I just did the walker and got that to be all 3-inch instead of 2.5. The first operation I did made a 3-inch. The second operation is just updating those values. We talked about this a little bit the other day. I want to maybe uncover one more underlying piece of information. This piece of pipe is 1.25 inches. If you look at the properties of that pipe, it has a diameter, and that is the diameter that counts. But Hydrotech added a length string and a diameter string. The diameter string is text to represent the diameter. It's not the diameter, it's text. And the reason it has to be text is that Revit doesn't have a 1/4 inch symbol for their diameters. their diameters are always spelled out 1/1/4 inch sign. And that's a baked in requirement for Revit. We got around that and said we could make our customers happy if we could show the stacked symbol. To do that, we need to run a calculation that says, what's the Revit diameter, 1/1/4 inch sign, and create some text, put the text in a property, and then we'll report that. If you change the diameter of this pipe, you're changing that actual value, but you're not changing the text to go with it. We have to recalculate that. That calculation is baked into the walker, but the calculation of the length would take too long. We didn't put it in the walker, we put it in tag pipes. So if the lengths change, before you plot that, rerun tag pipes. If the diameters are the only thing you're changing, then the walker is enough to recalculate that and redisplay those pretty texts. Does that help make it any more sense to you, Josh?
A little bit. I guess I'm just trying to figure out how you. So I walkered. I got all my system pipe, and then I went to HydroCalc and I clicked the calculated diameters to change everything to
Yes.
what they're supposed to be. I'm just trying to figure out how to update my pipe
Do the
tags.
walker again. After that, do the
Okay.
walker again.
Okay.
It's like you snuck in a
Oh,
change.
okay. I see it. Just automatically did it. Cool.
Yeah. You snuck in a change that text doesn't know about yet.
Yeah. Okay.
The
Good deal.
walker recalculates the text, specifically for the diameter, and the tag pipes process does the calculation for the diameter and for the length. And here's my chance, Josh, to say that I used WS to change that from 2.5 to 3, and you used the calculated diameters. They both work, but the calculated diameters isn't my favorite because it forgets about this pipe. Do you see yours is still 2.5 on the end there?
I actually I'm looking. Mine's different. Mine changed the end pipe to 3 inch, but it actually kept two of those pipes south. That 6 foot piece and that 10 foot piece. It kept them 2.5.
Okay. The calculated diameter is a nice feature, but I've sort of slowed down on using it because it's too literal. It says
Yeah.
this was calculated, that wasn't, so I'm not changing it. Whereas you and I know it's our intent to change that whole run of pipe.
Okay.
Okay. I think I've got to where I wanted to brag about that. I will do this. Here's a 3D view that doesn't have any hydraulic reference points on it yet. And if I switch to Revit and I go to find that 3D view, here's a section at the riser manifold. Come on now. I'm double clicking on that. That's supposed to open that view, and I was being thwarted. But it wasn't the section that I wanted anyway. I did all that clicking for nothing. Here's the ISO for the manifold. And in this ISO, I've got some text. I want to add reference points. That's this all reference points button. And that makes that show up as underground 1 and that show up as base of riser. You can also, when you move them, add a leader. And when you add a leader, you can move, where it is that its elbow is, its knee is. But then there's also, if you get really, really fussy, this thing says attached end. The leader is just finding a point on the imaginary box that that contains that object, that elbow. If you say free end, then you get another grip and you could drag it like right onto the elbow. That just depends how anal you are or how much work you want to do on that. But by default, it's going to the imaginary box that surrounds that object. Okay, moving on. We're changing the background color from yellow. We're finally done with lesson 3, and we're moving on to the stuff we were planning to cover in lesson 4. And the first part of that is coordination. Next class on Tuesday, I will also talk about collaboration, but coordination is making sure all our stuff fits with everybody else's stuff. Collaboration is seeing that we could be working on this at the exact same time somebody else is working on this, and their changes are showing up in our version, and our changes are showing up in their version. We'll talk about that next Tuesday. Today we're talking about we've all done our stuff and we went and used the same space and we've got to get out of each other's way. And I'm going to talk about doing it 3 ways. Once the world and the projects you're working on have legitimately moved into Revit, Navisworks will fade into the past. You've got everything you need to know what hits what and what to do to fix it right in Revit. I'm going to show you that first. Next, I'm going to give you the view of the most traditional use of Revit. Everybody send your stuff. I'll put it in a Revit and a Navisworks file. Send me your stuff. I'll put it in a Navisworks file, and we can see that the blue thing hits the green thing. And we can wander all around the building and look for red things hitting purple things and telling people to fix it. That's probably the old-fashioned way, but it's still very popular with lots of people. So I include it. I'm thinking more popular in Navisworks. The project manager says, send me all your stuff and I will run a report that tells me here's 500 places that something hits something else. And we'll sort through those 500 places one at a time and make them all go away. And I'm going to show you that process, and I'm going to show you a Hydratech improvement on that process so that we don't have to peek at each one of those 500 problems one at a time and go figure out where that is so that we can fix it in our model. We can get that information right in our model and make it a whole lot easier to find and fix stuff. Along the way, I'm going to be talking about how to find the clash, how to view the clash, and some more modeling tools for how to fix the clash. It's still not a all-inclusive. These are all the ways that you can move pipes or delete pipes and redo them, but it's an opportunity to see some more tools for that rerouting of pipes stuff. So let's go back, or let's charge on here. First thing is to find and fix problems right in Revit. So I'm going to go to the ground floor and pick on a particular thing to find clashes on. I'm going to use the main on the ground floor and see where the main hits any of the rest of the mechanical equipment. To do that, we're going to use WS to select the main. We're going to use FC, find clash, to identify my interest in all the engineering objects, and to run a clash check to tell me where my stuff, the main, hits the mechanical objects. And then when we do that, it'll give us back a dialog box that says you got 500 hits. You got 2 hits, you got no hits. And then there's 3 different ways we can look at those hits. We can just double click on the thing in the box, or we can close the dialog box and just look at the numbers that showed up on our screen, and then use view clash to make a 3D view of each of those clashes as we desire. Or finally, there's a camera view that says start at the end of this pipe and let's fly through the building looking down that pipe. All right, so I'm going to go to the ground floor. Let's see, I'll dismiss this one, I'll dismiss this one, and I'm going to go to the ground floor working plan. Floor plan, ground floor, copy 1. And I want to find where this hits the mechanical stuff. If I looked carefully, there's a potential hit with this light fixture. There's a potential hit with a piece of ductwork here, another potential hit with that light fixture. So that's a way you could do it visually, but I'm going to do WS like was prescribed in that slide. And that lights up the main. And then on the HydroCAD ribbon in the coordination panel is find clashes, and it says FC, so I could have just typed FC, and that brings up a dialog box that I've got to go bring over to this screen. And the dialog box says I'm going to take that selected stuff and I'm going to compare it to the architect. I'm going to compare it to myself. That's a little silly. Or I'm going to compare it to the engineering stuff. So that's a link. And if I compare it to that link, it's got all 80 characters of things that I might be interested in. When we developed this, I said, yeah, we don't necessarily want to compare our thing to the doors or to the cut marks or to the detail items. Afterwards, I said, that's just too long of a list to go saying, yeah, I care about this, I don't care about this, I do care about that. So I've taken the habit of saying, I want to find out where my stuff hits any of that mechanical stuff. And I'm going to create clash bubbles. I'll show you what those are in a second. And I'm going to create a results window. So I'm ready to pick run check. And oh my God, I got it. These are clash bubbles. And it says there's a problem there. It says that main's in trouble. That same thing is reported in a dialog box that came up on my other screen that says there's 19 places where your main hits their stuff. If you click on the plus sign, it says our pipe is hitting their duct tap. That's one of their duct fittings. Clash 2 is we're hitting a duct elbow. I'm just going to skip down to 13, and that's another duct elbow. So it seems like, at least from the few that I've looked at, there's problems with ducts. Another way you can use this is just double click on Clash 2, and that highlights Clash 2 and opens a window. I'm going to close that report, and sure enough, there's my pipe hitting their duct. So I could play peekaboo one at a time and look at that thing, or I'm going to say the real point was a problem here, 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 and here. Rather than making a 3D view of each one of those, or in Navisworks, you got to go click on it to go find out what it's talking about and then go figure out where you're at. Obviously, I've got a problem all down that main. I'm going to create a section view. Actually, I'm going to stick to, now that I have them, there's 3 different ways you can look at that problem. The 3 different ways are, you can just click the plus sign to get an idea of what it's clashing. You can double click on it in that dialog box, which I did, and that makes a little 3D view of that particular error. you can hit, without the dialog box, you can type VC or click on the View Clash button and then click on any one of those bubbles and it'll make you a 3D view of that. Or, and in this case, I think this one might be the most useful. I could effectively fly along that main as if I was in Navisworks. And that's CV is camera view. And the camera view lets you pick any pipe, and whichever end of the pipe you pick on, it'll start a 3D view looking down that pipe, starting at the end that you pick on. So I'm going to show you that one. I kind of showed you the double click on the thing in the dialog box. I'll also show you VC View Clash and click on the box. That makes you a 3D view of that clash. And then I want to show you CV, camera view. So I'm typing there's the camera view, and you see it says CV. And if I pick on, this isn't even a pipe that had a clash, but if I click on the south end of that pipe, it makes me a 3D view. I'm going to unclick the crop view. And that started at the south end of that pipe, and it's looking down that main. And in here, I can go to the navigation wheel. If for any reason this navigation wheel isn't open, you can find it under View, User Interface, Navigation Bar. That's, cancel. Silly Al, I did this the other day. I'm going to undo it now. I'm going to do File, Save As, a project. And I'm going to change this from, start of day to end of day. All right. Then if it asks me to save, I'll save. But I went to View and I unchecked navigation bar, and that bar went away. So if you're missing it, you do the reverse. You go to View, ribbon, User Interface, give me back the navigation bar, and that thing comes back. The top button on that bar has got a mini tour building wheel. Most of these work pretty good, full navigation bar, but I'm going to click on this mini bar navigation wheel, and then I'm going to click on it again and drag it over. This is the mini bar navigation wheel. If it looks to me like a Trivial Pursuit bucket with 4 wedges in it. The top wedge is walk, and I want to point out the other wedges to you. Now I got lost. The wedge on the right is rewind, so I'm just unzooming the way that thing had just zoomed. The one on the left is look around, and the one on the bottom is go up and down. So I'm kind of low enough here. I'm going to use the red one, and I'm going to be a little more kind here. And there's more investigation we could or maybe should do, but I'm going to say, generally speaking, I'm seeing a place I could sneak into this gap. This is a usual gap in sprinkler design. The lights take up the first 5 or 6 inches of the ceiling space, the space above the ceiling, and the other guys generally avoid that space. So if we moved down the ceiling's at 9 feet. If we went down to 9'5" or 9'6", we'd maybe be missing a lot of that stuff. So having looked at the big picture that says I'm hitting there, and most of those, it was like the main was too high. I'm gonna propose simply moving the main down. I need to keep in mind, if I move a pipe, all the pipes parallel to it are going to move with me. Pipes perpendicular to me are going to get longer or shorter. And that'll all just take care of itself until one of those pipes that's getting shorter gets too short. It can't get shorter than 0, and it'll stop and yell at you and say, "Ooh, I can't do that." I'm thinking he's complaining like I'm bending his fingers one way, I'm bending them further one way, I'm bending them the other way, and then I'm trying to bend them backwards, and he says, "Ow, I can't do that." So in this case, if I take this pipe in a section and move it up or down, then this riser is going to get taller or shorter. These return bend pipes are going to get taller or shorter. The drops are going to get taller or shorter. And over here, this is an up and down pipe connecting something at 11'4" down to something that's currently at 10 feet. That's going to get longer or shorter. And I'm thinking I've got a ways to go that I can get away with just moving that up and down. If later I go to move this pipe left or right, then these will be if I go to the left, these will be getting longer and this one will be getting shorter. There's a possibility that, like, if this one gets shorter and this one gets longer, that's fine. If this one gets longer and this one gets shorter, that's fine. But if I tried to move it past here, it would complain about this. And there might be some that are even closer than that. So those kind of define the limits. I think I've got some room to move, and I'm going to go see if I can take advantage of it. I have a section view here that's looking partway down that hallway, just on the left side of it. I'm going to go to that section. And this is my main. If I take it, which I'm saying is hitting this purple duct, I'm going to move it down. And you see my riser is getting shorter. I'm saying my arm overs are getting longer. And I'm going to get like down into that space. Now he's mad at me. He says, we found 3 pipes that got too short. And there's only 3 of them, and I'm on a mission. I think I'm going to say, go ahead and delete those. I'll look for them later and fix them separately. Currently, I'm at 9'8". I'm going to keep going. 6.5, 6, 5.5, 5. I think I'm safely into that light pocket space. And I'm obviously, where I'm at, going to be going through this light and maybe a bunch of others. So I'm going to move it over. And if I want to move faster, I'm using the left arrow and the right arrow and the up arrow keys on my keyboard. If I hold shift down, it'll move it faster. And then I'll move it back a little bit. And I think that might be a pretty good sneaky place to be. So I'm going to go back to my ground floor. I'm going to WS. I'm walking the main. And I'm going to find Clash, FC. And that brought the dialog box up on the wrong screen again. And I'm going to select everything in the engineering and run a check. And boy, oh boy, that was a pretty good operation. I went from 19 clashes down to 3. And you see this says Clash 1, Clash 2. It's like two of the same problem, or they're in the same place. So we don't make a big deal out of there's two of them. We show you both of them at the same time. If I go over here and I click on that, it's still a duct, and that one is still a duct, and Clash 3 is a lighting fixture. So Clash 3, I think I could fix real easy. This sprinkler could go a lot of different places. It's already on a flex drop, and it's in this hallway, so I think I could move it 2 feet to the left. I'm going to just take that one and move it from there, pointing that way, type 2. It's a flex, so I can adjust it a little bit. And then 2 and 3, I'm going to do VC, View Clash, and click on that. Click on that to get a 3D view of it. And I don't know, I think he's lying to me. He's claiming like those things hit. I don't see that they're hitting. And I'm going to give him a mulligan on. He complains occasionally when he doesn't need to. Let me do camera view, CV, and pick on this pipe and look at it from that direction. I'm going to get rid of the crop so that it fills the screen. And I'm rolling backwards, I'm rolling forwards. Yeah, I think he's lying to me. I don't see it. I don't see it hitting that duct. Okay, so I've got, I think now, just one double complaint. I think I fixed this one. I'm going to verify that by doing View Clash, and I'm sorry, WS to select that, then FC, Find Clash, then check everything against everything, and I'm down to, nope, he's still complaining about that other guy. Clash 3 is still a lighting fixture. Now, lighting fixtures I find sometimes are a complaint, not about the fixture itself, but the light pattern, and I often blow those off also. FC, a View Clash. Oh no, that looks like I am hitting that fixture. So I went left or right. I should have gone I should have gone 2 feet north and south, or east, north or south, with the whole branch line. Would I get away with? Yeah, it looks like I might be able to move the whole branch line north a ways. I'm going to click on that. I'm going to see how, if I get away with this. I'm going north, 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 north. Holding my breath one more time. I think I missed him now. I've got these guys really short, but I think they're doable. And these got longer and shorter. They're still okay. Let's do one last check. WS. Find Clash. And run check. And we're down to just those two that I feel like he's lying to me about. Okay, questions so far? That's workflow number 1. Let's go to workflow number 2. And my security thing has shut up. I'm going to go switch back. I'm going to take Revit and move it back into my original screen. And I'm going to take the meeting controls that you are probably not seeing. And I'm going to move them back over here, and I'm going to take that my PowerPoint and move it back here. So we fixed the clash. We moved the whole thing down. We moved that main over. I didn't do a go around, but I think I can find another example of a chance to do that. And we relocated heads. I took that one head and moved it 2 feet. And then we reused find clash to verify that we went from 17 or 19 errors down to just 2. And I am claiming that there are times when you get a false positive on a light fixture, and it appears in our read of that when we say how big is that light fixture, it includes the light pattern sometimes, and then if we're hitting the light pattern, we shouldn't worry about it. Okay, workflow 2 is the project manager says, everybody send me your stuff. You've been working on your stuff. I want you to send it to me, and I'm going to put it all together in Navisworks, and we're just going to fly around and look and see if we find any problems, and then I'll send you off to fix them, and then we'll put them back in the Navisworks file, and we'll look again and convince ourselves that they were fixed. Along that path, he says, I want you to send me your stuff. And among the most common send me your stuff requirements or requests are, I know you're working on the whole building, but we're only going to be coordinating the second floor. Just send me your second floor stuff. You're the sprinkler guy. I want to see only the sprinkler stuff. I don't want you sending me the plumbing and the plumber sending me the plumbing and the sheet metal guy sending me the plumbing. So you're the sprinkler guy. Send me only sprinkler stuff. Also, so that I can figure out who's who, I want you to make all your sprinkler stuff red. So paint your stuff red before you send it to me. And then I said this one before, but I'm reading it off the slide in order now. We're only working on the second floor, so don't send me the ground floor or the lobby or that. I want just the second floor. And very often, if not most often, he says, and I want you to send it to me in an NWC file. I don't want your whole Revit file. I don't want an AutoCAD drawing. I want an NWC file. So I'll show you how to make him happy on all 4 of those counts. And then we'll go open this project in Revit, and then we'll fly around and we'll see if there's some problems. We'll fix them and go around that cycle. So first off, he says, send me only sprinkler stuff. So in Revit, I'm going to create a 3D view.
Hey, Alan, we can't see your screen.
I moved it. No, you're seeing the wrong screen. Thanks for telling me I had egg on my face. I need to know that. So over here, share again. Share that screen. How's that better?
Gotcha.
Okay. And this is the slide I was reading off of, that we want just sprinkler stuff. We want red sprinkler stuff. We want only the second floor sprinkler stuff, and we want it in an NWC format. So I'm going to click on getting just the sprinkler stuff. I'm going to look through my project browser, and here's a view that says squiggle 3D squiggle. Tom, do you know what's special about that view? Squiggle 3D squiggle? I will take that as a no. How about you, Nathan? Do you know what's special about that view?
I believe it's the default 3D view.
It is. Oh, well, I think that's a good word, but default, one definition of default is it's everything there is in the world in a 3D view. But every time you use that section box button, this one, it blows that away and changes it and recreates it as this. You see the view that we're at? Squiggle, 3D squiggle. I'm going to close it. I'm going to go pick something different, and I'm going to pick the 3D view. You see the view is 3D squiggle. It erased it, and it made it be this one instead. That's what's special about it. It gets reused over and over and over. It's kind of a temporary file. So don't go betting the farm on what's going to be in that view. You kind of never know. It's left over from the last time you did some kind of a selection box. I want a 3D view that's the entire building. To do that, I would normally go to 3D view, default 3D view, and that says, there it is, Al, that's it. We already have one. To get the whole building, I'm going to click on that view and see if I can't delete it. Let me try closing it here and then see if right click on it, I can delete it. So now I don't have a squiggle, 3D squiggle at all. And if I go to view, 3D view, it's back. It says squiggle, 3D squiggle. It says squiggle, 3D squiggle, but it's the whole building. Does that make sense? It's special.
No, thank you.
Yeah. All the other views, you make them, they are what they are, and they just hang around. This one keeps getting written over. So for right now, I wanted to start with a view of everything, and I want it to be sprinkler stuff only. So I'm going to make this be view template, 3D Navis export. And while I'm in here, I'm going to look for the Revit links, and I'm going to say, I don't want to see the Revit links. He told me sprinkler stuff only. So I'm turning them off, and I'm applying that template. And I'd say I'm pretty close. These levels, the grid lines and the levels are kind of extra stuff. I don't really want to see those. I'm going to go back to my view template. I'm going to go to annotations, and I'm going to find grid lines, and I'm going to look and see if there's levels. Yeah, levels is turned off. All right, and I'm thinking that's check mark number 1, 3D view of sprinkler system only. I will make one other change right away, and that's, this is still called Squiggle 3D Squiggle, Nathan. I'm going to go find that and change its name to Navis Export. And we're on our way to exporting just the second floor, so I'm going to add second floor to that. Okay, the name is a lie right now. It's like everything in the sprinkler system. Okay, so far so good. We've got a 3D view of the sprinkler system only. Next, my next slide has details for doing that. So we set the view template to the 3D Navis, and then we turned off the Revit links. I already have in the view template, it's got an override that says I want the flex pipes, the fittings, the accessories, and the sprinklers all to be red. And then the override for the imported categories, that's the detail blocks. I want them to be red also, the valves and devices. and I wanted to set the scope box off, and I think I left out, I wanted the grids to be off and I wanted the levels to be off. So we've applied that template and we've got pretty close. However, something else I need to show you is that it sort of looks red. At least from here, it looks like everything's red. If I zoom way in, it's only sort of red. It's like the outlines are red, but the stuff itself is still gray. And I'm saying it's default gray. That stuff inside is the material. It's not the projection lines. It's not those things that we override with the line work, with the colors. It's the material. So I need to set the materials of all of those types of objects to be opaque red. If I got that on the slide, it says set the object styles for the above objects, meaning flex pipes, pipes, sprinklers, all that. Set the object styles to opaque red. So to do that, I'm going to manage. That's the manage ribbon. And on the manage ribbon is object styles. And in here, I can override not just the line weights and the colors, but I can override the materials. That's the inside guts that I care about. So I'm going to go down and find flex pipes. I'm going to find pipes. I'm hitting control, pipes, pipe fittings, pipe accessories, sprinklers. That's it. I'm going to take all those things. I'm clicking in material, and there. I have to click all the way on the right side of that box to get the little 3 dots to say I want to change the material. Then I have to wait forever for it to go open up this dialog box and think about all the information that goes into every material that Revit ever knew about, how the dots and the colors ought to show up for glass and concrete and everything else. But I'm going to scroll down in this list now that that long wait seems to be over. And I found a material called FP Red. I'm going to click on that material. And this is just a glitch in the toolbox. Somehow I recorded it in the toolbox as being red color, but being mostly transparent. So I'm going to go change that transparent number to 0, and that'll make it opaque. And then I'm going to pick OK. Does anybody need time waiting for their computer to get this enough so that you can change that to opaque? James, you're finding that okay?
I'm good.
Okay, so I'm going to pick OK. And that's changing that material in my project, those items to that material. And I'm going to pick OK again. And object styles are like, if you don't tell me otherwise, this is what I'm going to do with things of type pipe accessory or things of type pipe. And I'm going to use red material for them. So he's reprocessing how he's going to paint that stuff using FP Red with a transparency of 0. So now you see the shading is done with that material, which is red. And I'm going to leave these disconnects for now and be happy enough about that. And I'm going to...
Mine's not showing the red or the yellow exclamation point sign. I did click delete at the time, but
but if you zoom in, they might look disconnected.
they definitely look funky.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, they
so
look just like yours. Yeah.
Good. So go to the Analyze ribbon, And in Analyze, under Check Systems, there's a little yellow triangle, which is Show Disconnects.
Yeah.
And
Nice.
yours, you want to check mark the pipe and pick OK, and then those yellow check marks will show up.
Okay, thank you. Does that stay on Revit for all projects, or?
Certainly within this session, I suspect it's a Revit setting that the next project will have it. But it's never more than once per Revit session that you would have to change that.
Okay.
It's not per view or per project or anything. It's for the Revit. It's for Revit, and I think it's persistent even across sessions. However, it's good to know that it's there. Sometimes there are so many yellow triangles that you can't see what you're looking for, and you want to go turn it off. So good to know where it's at to turn it on and off. Good deal. Thanks for asking about that. So now we've got everything red. Now I want to get it to be just the second floor. And there's ways you could crop a 3D view using the crop region, but it's as easy as this thing that says right click on the view cube and say orient to a floor plan and pick the second floor plan. So over here, I'm going to right click on this view cube. If the view cube isn't there, you're going to go to view and user interface and tell it you want to see the view cube. That's this guy. And then I'm going to right click on it and I'm going to go down to orient to view, orient to a floor plan, and I'm going to orient to a second floor plan. So, however, the slicing, i.e. view range, dicing, i.e. the crop region, are set, it uses those settings to crop this 3D view. And it doesn't look 3D, but that's just because it's looking at the 3D view from the top. If I hold Control and orbit it, or if I click on that little top left corner, that's an isometric view. And now that's sprinkler stuff. It's red and it's second floor only. And I've already renamed the view Navis Export second floor. So I think we're doing good here. Back one more. So right click, and now we're going to rename the view. I did that a few minutes ago, and then we're going to get ready to export it and view it in Navisworks. So what's great about, I just have a slide, timeout, advertisement for Navisworks. What's so great about Navisworks? Well, it's used by virtually everybody in the construction industry as the de facto standard for how do you find red stuff hitting green stuff. As a result, Navisworks can open, I'll say, virtually any 3D format. So an AutoCAD 3D drawing, it'll open that. A Google SketchUp 3D sketch, it'll open that. It'll display that. So it's on the list of file open and it'll display any of those. There's MicroStation, there's ArchiCAD, there's Navisworks itself, there's Revit. All of those things are 3D file formats and it can open all of them. It allows for sectioning so that if you open an entire building, you could smush it down so that you're looking just at the second floor. It allows for you to fly around the building and take snapshots and say, ooh, I want to come back here. So you can save a view and give it a name. Another really important thing about Navisworks is, unlike Revit, it is not version sensitive. So amazingly, you could use Revit 2026 and save it to an NWC file, and then you could open that in Navisworks with Navisworks 2020. It does have it does have three versions: free, cheap, and expensive. The free one and the cheap one don't have this automatic clash detection feature, but they have most of the rest of the features for flying around and looking at stuff. The expensive one has built into it, find me every place the green stuff hits the blue stuff and make me a list and views of those. And the cheap one and the expensive one have a feature to say, and now take this thing that I'm looking at in my version of Navisworks and save it to a file that can be looked at with the free view, with the free one. NWC is Navisworks cache file. NWD is a Navisworks document file, and the NWD is the one that you can share with that free viewer. Okay, so that's the timeout for a commercial for Navisworks. It's important to us because when we're asked to do a quote unquote BIM job, they are misusing the word BIM and it upsets me no end. But I'm going to move right past that and say what they probably mean. This is a quote BIM job. They probably mean you've got to submit your work to be looked at in Navisworks, and they're going to use Navisworks to tell you where you're hitting the other guys. So use the same techniques illustrated in workflow 1 to adjust the model and re-export. I'm going to go back one slide and say, on this slide, I'm going to go take the view that I have of the architectural building, and I'm going to crop it. I'm going to crop it by using sectioning, so I get kind of down to just the second floor. Then I'm going to walk through it. Then I'm going to add the mechanical and see that when I walk through it, now I see the ducts and the light fixtures and stuff. As I'm walking through it, I say, oh, this is an interesting place. I'll save a view that we can get back to. And then I'm going to sneak back here to Revit, create that Navisworks NWC file, the export, and then we'll add the fire protection to that building as well. Then we're just going to wander around again and save some more views and remember, oh, I found a problem. Let's make a note of that, and when it gets fixed, I can come back and check that it got fixed. So let's go to Navisworks. I'm going to do. I have in my startup, I have Navisworks. I'm going to use the latest one I have installed on my computer, but I'm claiming they all work. And I'm going to use it to find and open the architectural model. So I'm going to go to Home, and I'm going to do File, Open, ... Open an existing Navisworks project, and I'm going to open from C, HES, training, and then I sent you this Navis files folder, and yours probably doesn't have all these files in it, but it should have a small medical facility architect, and I'm going to open that. And I'm rolling my mouse forward, I'm rolling my mouse backward, I'm pushing down on the wheel. No, I'm going to go over here and say orbit. So this is that same user interface. I'm going to say orbit. Now I can just push on the left mouse and I can orbit that thing. And if I use the wheel, I'm zooming in. If I push down on the wheel, I can go up and down. And I'm moving in again. Okay, I want to crop this down to use the sectioning to get just the second floor. So I'm going to go to Viewpoint, Enable Sectioning. There's sectioning by a box, and you can just sort of move that box around. And I could probably change the size of the box, but I'm going to use the planes here. And in planes, right now, there's a plane showing that I could use to get more or less of the building from front to back. I'm going to see if I can't dial in plane number 1 and say that plane number 1 is the top, not the side. And I have move lit up. And if I drag that up and down, the top by accident was below the bottom of the building, so I wasn't seeing anything. And when I pull it up, I'm going to make the top be not quite the very top of the building, so that it's like I'm just below the roof. Then I'm going to switch to plane 2, and I want to see that that's adjusting the bottom. Sure enough. So, and the plane came with an XYZ, and I'm sort of hovering over the Z thing and clicking on it to be able to drag the bottom up. Now I've dragged the bottom up enough so that I think I can kind of see through the building, so I can look up from the bottom or down from the top. And then I'm going to maybe get a little jolly here. I'm switching to plane 3. That lets me move in and out at an angle. I'd like to be moving in and out from the front. So I'm going to rotate that plane till it kind of lines up with the front. And then I'll go back to move, and I can move the back. And all I'm doing here is getting rid of a little bit of that lobby area. I'm going to switch to plane 5, perhaps. Yeah. And again, that's moving in and out at an angle. I'd like that to be from the left side, so I'm going to rotate it so that it kind of is parallel to the left side. Then if I go back to move, I can move it in and out to get rid of that thing. All right. I think I've had enough fun there. I can see all of the second floor now, and I can see it without the roof being in the way. So I'm going to go back to home, and I'm going to pick on append. I opened the architect. Now I'm going to append or add to it the engineering. And when I do that, the engineer had a roof or a floor or something up there. So I'm going to go back to and try and clip that out of my view. So I'm going to go to viewpoint, enable sectioning. I had to sort of cycle that to get back to where I was familiar with the planes. I'm going to go to the top plane, and I'm going to take that top plane and move it down just a tad. And now this is pretty cool. I can see the steel joists, and I can see the ducts and the light fixtures and all that stuff. Okay, we're all dressed up. Now we need some sprinkler stuff to care about. So I'm going to go back to Revit. I've got my view, and I'm going to go to File, Export, NWC. James, are you in Revit, and did you pick File, Export?
I haven't yet because I clicked save, but as soon as that's done, I'll be there.
Okay.
I am now.
Okay, but when you pick export, you see I have this thing that says NWC, and I'm betting you don't.
I do not.
And you know why that is? It's because I'm special.
That's right.
But I'd like to make you special too. So, and I don't think this will take long enough that we should do without it. You should have that. So go to a File Explorer and type in Navis Works Exporter for Revit.
And then
Which version of Revit?
2025.
Okay, so I see one that says Navisworks Exporter for Revit 2025 download. Do you have that one? James, did you find that?
I actually had an interruption there, so I'm assuming it
Yeah,
was
I
me
guess
that
so.
cut
Yeah.
out. Yeah, I'm on the 2025
Okay.
download page.
So Revit File Exporter Navis, it's under Autodesk. That makes me feel good. It says download free. If it's free, it's me. If I got to pay, no way. So I like that one.
Yeah, it's funny. We got different results, whether Google and
Yeah, yeah. And it is funny.
yeah.
However, download Navisworks Freedom. That's not us. Download Navisworks NWC file exporter. Can you find one like
Yep.
that?
Yep.
And you're looking for the 2025 one.
Perfect.
And I would say close Revit and close Navisworks before you run that executable. It's just not a good idea to sit on a tree branch and saw the tree branch on the tree side and you're on the outside.
Right.
And having Navisworks open and you're importing and you're installing a Navisworks thing is not a good idea. All right. Josh, did you already have that NWC exporter?
I did, yes.
Okay. So we're going to give James a moment to get that downloaded. It'll show up really in two places in Navisworks, in add-ins and external tools. Then there's a Navis and a Navis switchback. And this Navis is the tool that'll let you export a file in NWC format. And the file export is just a different place for the exact same thing.
So my download's currently saying 11 minutes. I think we're
I
doing
will
some
go
work on
ahead.
our systems today. I'm assuming that's going to be the delay. So
Okay. I'll go ahead because we're going to go back into Navis again later for the third workflow.
okay.
And
Sounds
I'm
good.
saying
Thank you.
if you get it installed for then, you'll see it that second time around. You don't have to, you can just sort of watch this first time.
Sounds good.
Okay. So I'm in this view and I'm going to File, Export, NWC. And in here is Navis settings. I'm going to come back to those in a minute, but there are some important settings that have to be set up. I'm going to cross my fingers that what you have for the default will work for now, and then we'll make sure we've got them set properly when we come back around. And I'm going to save this to HES training files, Navis files, and I'm going to call this lesson 4, second floor.
1 second, Alan. When I do the file export to Navisworks, I don't get that box window to pop up. I guess there might be something wrong with my.
It sort of says you pick the button, you're done. Forget about it.
Yeah, it just did. Nothing happens basically.
Just let's try it one other way. Go to the add-ins and go to external tools and pick on Navis. That interesting. Mine says 2023. I think that's the Revit one. Does that give you a dialog box?
It does, yeah.
Okay, so let's try that one. And I'm going to call it lesson 4, second floor. And I think you can see I've done this a couple of times, so I have a few in there, but this one, lesson 4, that's the one we're all gonna use. And I'm saving it someplace on my hard drive. In this case, I'm putting it in CHES training files, Navis files. Pick save. Then there's a little bit of a dance it does, and then the excitement is over. That file has been created. So I'm going to go back to Navisworks now. And in here, I'm going to go to Home, and I'm going to go to Append, and I'm going to click on Lesson 4, second floor. That's the one I just created, and the time is today and now. So I'm picking Open, and voila, there's sprinkler system in conjunction with the building, in conjunction with the mechanical stuff. I'm going to go over to the navigation bar, and I'm going to click on what I use most frequently is the feet. And when I pick on the feet, now my mouse turns into feet. When I pick the wheel, I'm not the wheel, the left mouse button, and I push forward, I'm moving forward. If I go left or right, I'm looking left or right. And if I hold the wheel down and move toward me, I'm descending into the building. And now I'm rolling up to look down the hallway a little bit, and this is looking pretty good to me. So I'm going to save this view. This is like looking north in the hallway. So over here, I have saved views. I shouldn't assume that you have a panel that says saved views, but if you don't, go to View and then User in Windows, and the window that you want is saved viewpoints. So check mark that, and then you'll have saved viewpoints over here. I'm going to right click on that and say Save Viewpoint, and I'm going to call that Looking North Down Hallway. Okay, now I'm just going to randomly wander around. I'm going to descend a little further, move in a little bit, and look to the left. I'm on branch line number 1. I'm going to descend a little bit further, and then I'm going to start walking down that thing, and then maybe I'm going to hit that duct, and maybe I'm not. Looks like I'm fine. Looks like I'm still fine. Like I'm still fine. I clipped the top of the wall, but I don't think there's a lot I can or should need to do about that. And here's my first place where I'm going through a duct. So line 1 going through the duct. So say viewpoint, line 1 through duct. All right, a little further down. That guy looks like it's close. Yeah, he's hitting 2. So line 1 hit duct 2. Say viewpoint, line 1 through duct 2. A little further. That guy looks okay. And that guy looks okay. Oh no, that one's a serious problem. So right click, save viewpoint, line 1 through duct 3. All right. I've got 3 problems recorded. I can just sort of write some notes down. I've got to go fix 3 things in the line. And maybe I want to take a look at the hallway, but the project we're after here is we've sort of played the part of the project manager, and we put lots of 3D files together. We sectioned it, so we were looking at just the second floor. We just walked through and we found some problems. We saved views for those problems. I'm using Navisworks 2022 on a Revit 2023 project. That's good. I'm going to come back to the automatic clash detection in our next cycle. And I don't really see the need to publish this in 3D view because I have the full Navisworks. Does the next slide give us a clue? Yeah, we're going to use the same technique. We're going to go find those problems. We're going to fix them. We're going to re-export and then use Navisworks to look at the updated project. This is usually, I'm going to say, a Tuesday morning meeting at 10 o'clock. So Gerald can't attend our class. He needs to be in that meeting. And the guy's flying around the building saying, Gerald, you got to fix this and you got to fix that. And then for next Tuesday, he's got to go get that fixed. So we're going to go fix these 3 things on that branch line. I'm going back to Revit. I'm going to go to the second floor. And that first error was along this, there it is. So I saw the error in Navisworks. I know which branch line I'm on. There's no magic to doing this. It's just sort of mental exercise. This particular one looks pretty easy to me, though. Well, maybe not that easy. I'd say I could just move over a tile. I'd have to get out of the middle of the room to do that, but I could go down a tile. I think I'm going to fix this in the working view instead of the plot view here. The working view is up here. Here's, and I'm picking save, and I don't, it's a total coincidence that I'm zoomed into the same place in that other view. But starting over on that branch line, I'm working my way down. I'm saying I could move left and right, but if I did, I'm upset with the idea that I am currently so nicely in the middle of the room, I'd wind up at 9'1". Actually, that's too far, or at 9'3½". That's too far, even using the small room ways around stuff. What I'm going to do instead is, I found if I disconnect, if I just move this head 2 feet south, this pipe's going to try and get shorter, and it can't get shorter than 0. So then it's going to yell at me. Rather than let it yell at me, I'm going to disconnect it. And then I'm going to pick a window around it. So I've got the sprinkler and the drop and the elbow and the other thing, and I'm going to move that from any old place pointing south, go 2 feet. Now Revit will let me take an unfixed piece of pipe that's at an elbow and rotate it any way that I want. Reference to the highlighted dimension. So that dimension I had just got broken. That's okay. Remove the reference. So I had a dimension to that pipe that didn't work anymore. But more importantly, if I connect that to another elbow, the elbow is kind enough to say, oh, you're coming from the south. I'll go rearrange and come from the south. So there's that guy. This guy, I think I could move 2 feet and be in this ceiling tile instead of that ceiling tile. So I'm going to pick that pipe and I'm going to say move from any place this way 2 feet. And now I think I fixed that one. This one's going right through that duct. I'm going to create a little section to get a little better idea what's going on there. So I'm creating a section that's just deep enough to look at that one pipe. I'm going to go look at it here. And my branch line is going through the duct, underneath the duct. Here's the branch line. Then I go up through the duct, over and down. So if that head went down, over and down, I wouldn't have that problem. So I'm going to, this case, I'm going to use, I could attempt to disconnect this pipe, move this down, and then move the return bend up. But this thing is not an elbow. It won't swing around. It's more like it's a pipelet, but it behaves like a T, 3 pipes coming together. So I'd have to get fancy to turn that around. Our good fortune under the Hydrotech tools that says configure head, I could say I was going up, over, and down. I'd like to go down, over, and down. I'm going to use arm over pipe to welded lines. I'm going to use 6 inches above the measure from the head. So 6 inches up, then over, then up, whatever else it takes. And I'm going to not connect head. It's already connected. I'm not going to disconnect head. I could, but instead I'm simply going to change configuration of that head. And it goes down, over, and down instead of up, over, and down. And now we're not hitting that duct. And I'm pretty sure that we've got that same situation here. You can see this one's going down and you can see this one's coming up. I'm just going to go back to configure head, change configuration for that head. And now that's going down, over, and down. So I think the problems that we wandered into have been addressed. And I made note of them. I can check that they got addressed. So I'm fixing to resend this. If I go back to my Navis view, I still have that open. And you can see how these are going down, over, and down now. And the other ones, this one's coming to the south side and this one moved. I'm going to take this view and re-export it. So I'm going to go to File, Export, Navisworks, and save it right back to the same place that it was. And Josh, were you able to do that same thing, or did it almost get there and say, sorry, that thing's open?
No, I'm still having to go through the external tools.
Okay, but if you go through external tools, you can rewrite that file?
I do. I still had the file open though in the Navisworks and an
Right.
error popped up, so I need to close it down.
Let's try, there's a Navis setting. Leave Navis open for a minute here.
Okay.
No, well, leave Navis open and then go to the Navisworks pull down and options.
Okay.
And under model, performance, do you see, have I got this right? Create.
I can tell you right off the bat, I don't have that checkbox close NWC NWD files on load.
That's the one.
Yeah, I don't have that. I don't have that checkboxed.
Check mark it.
Okay.
And then and I think it's still open. So check mark that though, and then go.
Try again. Okay.
I think by try again, I mean I need for you to go to Home and Selection Tree and find our guy and delete him. There should be a delete in here. Delete. Are you sure you want to delete? So the sprinklers are gone.
Let's see. So you just deleted the whole second floor under that lesson
Yes.
force. Okay.
Yes, the
Um,
lesson 4. I deleted the sprinkler system.
okay, I'm looking for. I don't think I have got it. Do you just hit delete on your keyboard? Because when I right click that, I don't have a delete
Okay,
option pop up.
I did the selection tree, and then I picked on the second floor.
Hmm.
And when I right clicked on that, down near the bottom, I had delete.
Okay, I don't have the option to delete, but I'm gonna try to just delete on my keyboard and see if that works.
Yeah.
It does not. So
Wow. Well, we fixed the problem for the next time, and
okay.
you may be stuck closing Navis and reopening it. But with that check marked, when you append, I'm going to do it here. I'm appending that lesson floor. It's adding it into this view, but it's closing the file so that I can write over it even with it viewed in Navisworks. And that's a cool thing. So I didn't get yelled at. I recreated that file, and this time I'm going to pick refresh, and that didn't get fixed. I'm going to go back to Navisworks and convince myself that I really exported that. Export NWC. Oh, I'm going to put it in lesson 4. I think I put it in the wrong place. I'm redoing lesson 4. Yes, I want to replace it. And he's processing it. And since it was closed, I was able to write over it. Then back in Navisworks, I'm picking refresh. And now that pipe's going down, over, and down. And I have views. Here's my looking north. Here's my line through the duct is not going through the duct anymore. Here's my duct 2 is not going through the duct anymore. And here's my duct 3. That one's not going through the duct anymore. And I'm claiming that is the refresh and the end of workflow 2. Now, workflow 3 is just more scientific. And before I do it, I probably should have moved these up to the beginning of workflow 2, but there's some important settings, and you can find them in this lesson, or if it's 3 weeks before you need this again, or 2 months before you need this again, from Revit, if you go to helpful videos, and I'm going to type Navis in here, Navis. And that gave me 5 things. I think I can afford to read 5 things. Internal flying around, clash detection. Those are good, but not what I was looking for. I'm going to try settings. That got me nothing. Internal clash, a demonstration. Clash detection, how to detect. 3D coordination, 20 minutes. It's probably in there, but it seems like unnecessary a long time. Containing the link to allow exporting. This is probably the one. Let's click on that. Here they are. So Navis settings, I think, should make it easier to find if it was recorded that way. I'm going to write that down. But if you type Navis and read just a little more carefully, you can find these settings pretty easily. So we're going to use those settings, or I'll point out to you where each one of them is. So the first one is in Revit. You go to File, Export NWC, and in there's a thing that says Settings, and in those settings there's File Reader that you need to say Convert Element IDs. So in Revit, you go to File, Export NWC, and in here is Navisworks Settings. And in Navisworks Settings, under File Reader for Revit, you need that thing that says Convert ID, Convert Element ID. That needs to be checked. The other ones are maybe worth reading, but that's the really important one. So we also had in Navisworks itself, there's some performance, some interface, and some clash report settings that you want to deal with. So in Navisworks under performance, close you want checked. And Josh and I just found that one, and he went and checked his. Navis pull down, options, performance, close on load, you want that one check marked. Then there's also a interface display. You want the display units to be in feet and degrees and to the nearest 3 decimals. So in Navisworks, that's interface, display units, feet, degrees, and 3 decimal places. And then in the Navisworks under interface, there's also selection, and that's important that the resolution be first object. So back here under Navisworks, interface selection, that's supposed to be first object. And one more. The clash report itself wants to be in text format. We can wait till we write the clash report to fix this, but it's really important that image is not checked and that these 3, clash point, item path, and item ID, are checked. That's information that's getting written from the Navisworks clash report to the hard drive, and then Hydrotech can read that clash report and make it easier, way easier for you to find the clashes that came from that clash report. James, any luck so far getting that thing downloaded and installed?
Downloaded, yes. It's installing. It's at 17%, so I've actually decided to open Revit back up and be ready to do the next step if there is one, you know.
Okay. Well, I
said that, and now it's flying through it 92%.
Well, good. But now it'll get to 99%. It'll be there for 15 minutes.
Yeah, right.
You ain't done till you're done.
Yeah. I'm taking a bunch of notes on what I've got to do here for
good
these setups.
Have you been involved in one of these quote unquote BIM projects where you had to do the coordination?
Oh yeah.
So I think the majority of this is familiar territory. All that's new is that you're getting it out of Revit into, well, 2 things that are new. How you're getting it out of Revit to get into Navisworks, but it's 100 times easier to fix the problem in Revit than it is in.
Yeah. One thing that's funny is I never quite understood what I was trying to accomplish.
Yeah. all the problems are right there in front of you. And when you fix it, you can check it immediately and know that it's fixed. So I'm going to take those settings and go back. This is the same workflow. The project manager is collecting files. He's putting them together in Navisworks. But what's different is he's using the clash detective to go find a list of all those clashes. And then we could do the same thing he did, but we can use that clash report rather than looking at errors one at a time. We can get the second floor filled up with where the errors are and make it much easier to find them. So I'm going to create the Navis view and export it. We did this. Then in Navis, I'm going to put the architect, I'm going to put the engineer, and I'm going to put us in there, and I'm going to run the report. It's important for this connection that we say find the fire protection and compare it to something. The second set of stuff is something in the architect or the engineer plan. And then we can use import text, import clashes. So I'm going to go back to maybe oh my gosh, that's like everything. I'm just going to click on the home button here. And I'm treating this like I'm orbiting, and then I'm not. I'm got the feet going. All right. So that's our whole sprinkler system in the whole second floor. And I'm going to go to the home button and click on Clash Detective. And in here, I need to add a test. And the test now says, tell me what you want to test. I want to pick my stuff. I could get fancier and pick second floor piping, but I'm going to take all of my stuff and compare it against all of the engineer stuff. And here again, I could open this up and get fancier. But I'm saying if I hit the engineer any place, I want to know about it. And then I'm going to go to run test. And things are not totally rosy. There are 41 places where my stuff hits their stuff. I'm going to randomly pick on Clash 6, and I'm going to try and move this dialog out of the way. Clash 6 is a place where I've got an up and down pipe going through their duct. I suspect there's a Clash 7 or 25 or 36 where this branch line goes through that duct also. But right now, this is an up and down pipe going through that duct. I think I've done this too many times. I sort of recognize where that is, but my general complaint is Revit simply says, Navisworks simply says, there's 41 places where your stuff hits their stuff, and one at a time you can click on those places, and we'll give you a picture of that place, and you don't. And now it's your job to figure out where the heck that is so that you can do something about it. And James, does that legitimately describe your frequent experience with Navisworks?
Pretty much. I mean, I've always relied on the clashes getting identified by whoever's managing the BIMing.
Yeah. So he's run the report and he says, your red thing's hitting their green thing.
Yeah.
Now, your job to figure out which red thing is that and which green thing is that.
Right. Yeah, I mean, you can unshade it and try to find it a little better. But yeah, exactly. You got to follow it around and try to find it.
So here's what I'm getting at is I'm going to take this information and put it right in your model and say, there's 41 places we have a problem. These are the 41 places. Let me show you how to do this. I'm going to go to report, and I said image was one of the ones, and once you set this, it's set forever, but the first time you have to pay attention. There's a place in here where it said image. You want that unchecked. And there's item ID, path, item path, and clash point. Those have to be checked. Then for report format, by default, it's HTML or something. I want to make sure that it's text. And then I'm going to write the report. And it's going to ask me for a place. And it's currently in the folder where the Navis files got picked. That's fine. I'm going to call this day 4, lesson 4, second floor. So I'm just making up a name that will identify as unique to us. So I just saved that list of 41 errors or problems. I'm going to go back to Revit. And in Revit, I'm going to go find my second floor working view. And Clash 6 was a red thing going through a green thing. In here, if I say import clashes from a new file, and I go to see HES Navis files, here's day 4, lesson 4, second floor, and that's as of 12:30. I'm going to open that. And now I happen to find Clash 6, but more importantly, not where's Clash 6, but where are the problems? Like this branch line has a serious problem. It's hitting there and there and there and there. If I care to know what exactly is this problem, I can do exactly like I did before. FC, find Clash, and pick on Clash 29. Let's do that again. FC for find Clash. Nope, something's going wrong here. Find clashes. Nothing selected. Make a selection and try again. Find clash. So something is making those hard to find. Let me see if they're pinned. All right. I want to see what's going on. That should be working. It doesn't seem to be. I'm going to just pick a window around it and make a 3D view of it. Okay. So my branch line is either too high or too low. And I'd be interested in if I moved that up, would it solve more of these problems? So I can see the problems marked out along this line. I'm going to do my camera view, that's CV, and I'm going to pick on the left end of this pipe. And I'm going to not crop the view. And there's my branch line running into the bottom of that green thing. I'm going to go to the walker and I'm going to walk down that pipe. So I would want to go down to get out of the green thing. I'd have to go up to get out of the blue thing. This one could be fixed with a down, over, and down. Oops. Rewind a little bit. And then walk some more. Rewind. So he doesn't seem terrible if I could just get around the problem at the start of this. So back to the second floor. If I went way low here and then came back up here, the rest of this is fine except for this clash and this clash that need me to go down over and down instead of up over and down. Well, I got one more problem in here that I think I missed before. Let me double check that. Okay, so I'm just barely nicking the top of that thing. And okay, I'm being scatterbrained here. The point is, it's way easier. The point is, and what I really, really wanted to show you was that it's way easier to have a view here that tells you where all the problems are. And you can look at them in the big picture without, oh, here's a problem. Oh, here's a problem. If you fix them one at a time, it takes way, way longer than if you look at them all first and you have a pretty good idea of what's going on. You can run down that whole branch line and figure out what's going on. Here's clash 6. Does find clash work over here? Oh, view clash. All right. So I was being silly before. I was trying to use that clash bubble to find the problem. And I was typing find clash, and I should have been typing view clash and just pick on the bubble. All right. So this is the problem that it reported that we found in Revit. And I could just move that over, but I would still be going through that duct. I think I'm gonna kind of pick one and fix one of these things, just to show that it's easy enough to find and fix some problem, any problem, and then I'm gonna send it around again and show that the clash report has diminished. So this, if it went down, over and down, and this one, I think if it went down, over and down, I'd be happy. View clash. No, down, over, and down is not going to fix that one. I got to see if I could move that. Could I move that sprinkler 2 feet one way or the other? If I go in this direction, I'd be happy. This is already 14 feet. This one's 12 feet. So if I move these 2 sprinklers 2 feet to the right, I would fix that problem. So I'm going to take that sprinkler and that sprinkler. That's the clash bubble. They're both clash bubbles. I'm going to get rid of the clash bubbles. Then is that a sprinkler? And that's another clash bubble. Okay, finally I got a sprinkler and I've got another sprinkler. I'm going to take those 2 sprinklers and move them to the right 2 feet. Then I hit escape and nothing happened. One sprinkler. Oh, come on. And another sprinkler. I've got 2 sprinklers. And all right. Take all of that and move it 2 feet. I was getting yelled at because I was making that cap too short. Now this is 16 feet, so I got to take this one and move it 2 feet. Okay, then I had 41 errors. I think I've fixed as many as 3 or 4 of them, for 3 or 4 of them. So I'm going to go back to my view and export. I think this view ought to find a way to filter out the error bubbles. But I'm going to just right click and select all those error bubbles and delete them so that I'm not exporting them back to Navisworks. And then I'm going to do my file export to Navisworks. And I'm going to put it back to lesson 4, second floor. Replace it. Back in Navisworks. I'm going to rerun the report. Not rerun the report yet. I'm going to go do a refresh. And then I'm going to go to the report. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4 of them resolved. And those are the ones that I was pointing at that had those things. So in the big picture, we imported those clashes. So on the plan view, we could see where the clashes were. And then we adjusted the model and re-exported it. And then we refreshed it, reran the report, and verified that we had fixed 4 of the 41 errors. So I think I'd feel better if I had that slide that showed the three schemes. I should have one more as a summary slide, but the 3 workflows are find clash, pick stuff in your model, find clash, and see the clashes right in Revit. You don't have to go to Navisworks at all. You can fix them ahead of time. Plan 2 is export, create the view that makes the project manager happy. It's all red. It's all just the stuff he wants to see. It's all just sprinkler stuff. And you put it in an NWC format, then you can just wander around aimlessly and look for problems and fix them. And then workflow 3 is all that same stuff, but you be scientific about it, create the clash report in Navisworks. But Hydrotech has added a very important feature that says, yeah, that's nice that it scientifically found 41 errors, but give me an idea in the big picture. I don't want to have to peek at them one at a time. I want to just see where the 41 errors are and see if I can fix those over in Revit before I send it again. So those are the three workflows, and I'll maybe stop for just a minute and see if there's coordination questions that anybody has. Nathan, you've had to do this stuff using AutoCAD drawings before,
Many times.
many times. Did dragging you through the details of this make you feel like, yeah, this is nice, but it's kind of complicated? Or can you see the value in having the
Oh,
3D problem right in front of you?
I definitely see the value in having it right there in Revit. There's
Cool.
nothing like trying to draw in 2D to generate a 3D system to export and check in Navis to go back and make changes in 2D to try to correct it.
It's a really long cycle, isn't it?
Vicious.
Yes. So I hope you're looking forward to this because it's way, way faster and easier and better.
Indeed.
I'm going to move on to the other half of what we were going to cover today. And I fully expect we're not going to get to the listing, but we'll have a good break point. I want to get the
as part of listing, once you've got your model settled, you say, yeah, that's the space that I want. It's that's the appropriate time to add the couplings in and put the hangers on. And then when you run the list, it'll pay attention to all of that stuff. So I'm going to click through the add couplings and put on hangers, and then I think we'll carry the listing over into the beginning of next Tuesday. To that end, let me click on the next slide that says there's single coupling. There's add couplings one at a time, add couplings every 21 feet along a long run of pipe. And then there's, I want couplings at this typical place in the building every 21 feet, kind of all lined up with each other. So you can draw detail lines and put the couplings in there. I'm also going to discuss on the coupling topic that we were getting a bunch of couplings for free when we cut the elbow in. We got an elbow and 2 couplings. Believe me, that's a nice thing. When you cut a T in, you get the T and 3 couplings. But those couplings are defaulted to a particular type, and I'm going to show you how you have control over how many couplings actually get counted for that and what kind of couplings they are. And I put that under the topic of homogenized couplings. So let me start with one coupling. CP is the shortcut for the Hydrotech add coupling command, and in that dialog box is now a single coupling. There's an alternative in Revit. SL is split element, and if you split a pipe, it'll automatically put a coupling in there. The one advantage to the two advantages to the Hydrotech one is there's a button that says couplings instead of split element. And if the pipe you cut has a dimension on it, you're making a new pipe, and the Hydrotech one will put a new dimension on that new pipe. The Revit one doesn't know to do that. So I'm going to use that on that wall on the second floor, on that wall into the stairway. Let me go down to Navisworks. I'm going to close I'm just going to minimize Navisworks and go back to Revit. And in Revit, I'm going to go to the second floor working plan. These things are going to be in my way, so I'm going to right click, select all instances in view, and hit the backspace to delete them. And then I'm going to point out I'm going through this stairway wall, which is probably a fire rated wall, and I want to put a coupling on either side of it for partially for installation purposes and also for seismic purposes. So I'm going to use couplings, and here's add coupling manually, and I'm just going to click on the left side of that wall. So it put 2 dimensions where there used to be 1. This coupling just defaulted to 1'6" and something off of the center line of the wall. If I click on that little blob and I move it to the inside of the wall, it's currently 1'3" and a silly amount off of the wall. I can click on that 1'3½", and I'll be adjusting the coupling to be 0'6". So, that's not so good. I didn't pick the right inside of the wall. I'm going to undo that. Clicking on the coupling, this is the inside of the wall that I want to measure off of. So I'm going to take that little blob, hit the tab key until I get the inside of the wall that I want. Now it's 0'8" and something, and I'm going to take that and make it 0'6". So now I've got a coupling exactly 6 inches that side of the wall. I'm going to go do that again. Couplings, manual coupling on this side of the wall. Click on the coupling,
And I've got a dotted line there, and these dimensions are in my way. I'll start by just moving them. Click on the coupling, and it's measuring from this column line to that coupling. I'm going to take the column line thing and move it over to the inside of that wall, and then I'm going to click on that dimension and make it 0'6". Worst case scenario, it's like sometimes you get lucky and you get those witness dimensions, and sometimes you don't. If you don't, you can just put a dimension from, it looks like I'm getting one that I got the wrong side of the coupling. I'm going to get a dimension from the left side of the coupling to the inside of that wall. And I'm telling you that the coupling is at 5 inches. The coupling is drawn 2 inches wide, so take an inch off of it. If you wanted 6 inches, make that dimension 5. You're good to go. I got 2 dimensions there because I didn't pick on nothing when I went to mark the dimension. Okay, so you can make your own dimension and then click on the coupling and change that dimension, and you can set the thing. That's one couple. That's how to put a single coupling 6 inches either side of a wall. Next, I would put couplings every 21 feet, but I've got to go up the stairway or in an elevator here, and I haven't got room for 21-foot pipes in my elevator. So I could use 10'6", or I could use 12 feet, just so I don't wind up with so many couplings. I'm going to use 12 feet. And in AutoCAD, in HydroCAD for AutoCAD, you used to have to, if you wanted to start at one end, zoom way in so you picked exactly on the end of the very bitter end of the pipe. In Revit, you can pick near the end of a run of pipe, and we will find that bitter end. Start there and go every 21 feet. So I'm going to do this every 12 feet on that cross main, and then I'll do every 12 feet along the northmost branch line. So over in Revit, I'm going to zoom out, and this section of pipe is more than 12 feet. I'm going to break it into 12-foot sections. I'm going to go to couplings. I'm going to say continuous. So if I do one, it's going to just ask me for another pipe and another pipe. And I want to do every 12 feet. Minimum distance from fittings, I'm going to make 0'4". And if I've got a really long run of pipe, I'd like to account for the little bit of a gap between the couplings. So I'll make sure I don't accumulate 1/8 of an inch at each one of those. Then I'm going to pick add couplings. Maximum distance is greater than a foot. Do you want to continue? No. So I typed 4 in there. I meant to type 0'4", and he was just reminding me that that's kind of a long way to try and stay away from existing fittings. So add couplings, and this main, I could go 12, 12, 12, and whatever's left over, or I could start at this end and go 12, 12, and whatever's left over. I'm going to start near the north end. In AutoCAD, we used to have to zoom in so that you could pick right there. In Revit, we're smart enough to say that pipe is part of a run. We'll go find the bitter end of the run, go 12 feet, it added 2 dimensions. Go another 12 feet, it added another dimension, and then it didn't go any further. It didn't go past this and put another one beyond the T because there's couplings associated with the T. I still have that command running, and I'm going to go pick anywhere near the right end of this north branch line. And then it put a coupling there, 12 feet of coupling there, 12 feet of coupling there, 12 feet of coupling there. And then it wasn't 12 feet left over. So that's 2 ways to put couplings, one at a time, or every increment, every 21 feet or every 12 feet. A third way is to draw a detail line, and every place that detail line crosses a pipe, you can tell it add a coupling at that intersection. So I'm going to draw a detail line at the longest one of those branch lines, and then I'll copy it 12 feet, 12 feet, 12 feet, and say, let's put the couplings nice and even spaced there. So I'm gonna go back here. The longest one of those branch lines looks like this guy. So DL is a detail line. I'm gonna start at what I hope is the middle of that. I can't find the middle of it. I'm going to take that thing and temporarily hide it. Now when I go to draw my detail line, it's easy for me to find the end of that pipe. And I'm going to draw that long enough, but not long enough to go past that guy. And now I'm going to offset that 12 feet, 12 feet, 12 feet. So I can go to click on the line. Then this is the Revit offset button. I'm going to click on that. Then in the options here, I'm going to say the offset is 12 feet. And that's numerical, and it's a copy. So I'm going to go to one side 12 feet and then just keep going offset. So do you see when I get close to the left side of that line, a dotted blue line shows up here. That's where the offset's going to go. And then I go to the left side of that. There's the dotted blue line. Left side of that, there's the dotted blue line. Left side of that, there's the dotted blue line. I think I can get one more. Yep, there's the dotted blue line. And now I can look ahead and say, that's not going to be too close. That's not going to be too close. This one's all free and clear. This one's all free and clear. This one is all free and clear, and this one is all free and clear. So now I'm going to use, I can get that hidden coupling back by going to this temporary hide and say reset. The blue box around was a reminder I had some hidden stuff. And then I'm going to go to the coupling button, and I'm going to say break couplings over detail lines. And these are grayed out. They're going where the detail lines are. They're not going anyplace else. They're not trying to go every 12 feet. And continuous, I pick on one line, then I can pick on another line. So I'm going to add couplings on that line, and then on that line, and that line, that line, and that line. And then if I'd like, I can right click on the detail line, select all instances in view. There's 6 of them, and I'm deleting them. Okay, so the next thing talks about homogenizing branch lines. I'll do that, and we'll talk about the hangers next time also. But if I had a back-to-back elbow, each elbow was drawn with 2 couplings, and I've wind up with 4 couplings. I am able to override the number, adjust the override coupling count for back-to-back fittings. I can change it to say this one I only want 1, not 2 couplings. And the kind of coupling is in that same override place. So I'm going to zoom in on this T as a for instance. The T has got a place where it says the override quantity, the override index is a number, and that index determines the name of the coupling, the type of coupling, and then an override quantity for how many get counted. So if I put -1 in here, then the number of couplings is going to be 2, not 3. If I put an override of 0, then the number of, I have to type a nice 0, then the number of couplings is going to be 3. The type of couplings is based on this index, and an index of 0 is generic. I'm just going to type 1 in there. That didn't change anything. The index of 5 comes up with rigid coupling flexible seal. It still says generic, but the name changed. And on my slide, I put in the ones you care about. 18 is a Firelock 005, and 22 is the 009. There's hundreds of those. Those are probably the 2 most popular, but if you search for coupling index, you'll get a list of all of them that include 18 and 22. That's in the help videos. Let's go do that. So over here, HydroCAD help videos, coupling index. Here's the decoder ring. I'm going to open that. And there's, as promised, hundreds of them. I'll make it bigger. So 2 says grooved reducing coupling, 5 says rigid grooved flexible seal, and 18 is Firelock, and 22 is 009. So I'm going to change those all to 009. I can do it one at a time in here. If I change this to 22, then you see this says Victolic 009, and there's a part number for that. Or I can go to a schedule, and that has to do with the homogenization also. I think there's another slide for it. So when I go to homogenize it, I'll be on to hangers. That's wrong. There's a loose fitting and coupling schedule that you can unsort and then pick all the fittings at once and change that 0 to a 22. I'll do that and we'll be done. I am going to go to the schedule. There's a loose schedule. I'm doing something wrong these days. There, okay. So the index is at the top. This thing said unsort this schedule, so I'm going to go to sorting and just make this be none, sort by none. Okay, now the schedule's all together. There's 136 couplings that are counted. If I pick highlight and view, I don't have to pick any particular view. There's those 136 fittings, and they all share this coupling index, and I'm going to make that be 22. And now all of the extra couplings that are being picked as 009s. Back on this schedule, if I were to sort that again by, yikes, I should have been paying attention, the coupling index override. That's not him. Give me a header and a footer. Okay, so they're all coupling index override 22. I should have paid attention, but I've changed all those coupling types to not generic, but to 009. When we list them, the extra couplings will come up 009. The back-to-backs, I can adjust one at a time by adjusting that quantity for the special case where I have the back-to-back. And I'm going to leave it there for today because I want to honor everybody's time. Hangers won't take us an awful long time, and the listing will have its own dedicated time. I don't want to overrush that this morning either. So does that leave us with questions we should address, particularly on calcs, coordination, or couplings? Let's hit escape here. Let's scroll all the way to the bottom and put the question thing up. Anyone? So there's one more important thing, and I mentioned this briefly. I'll make a special point of it now. Between now and next Tuesday is like our last shot. I'm going to cover listing, which we haven't covered yet. I had a few things that I gave short shrift to. I want to talk more about sloping pipes, and I can give you several examples of laying out stuff with sloped pipes. And I was going to talk a little bit about inserting a fire pump and how to model with a fire pump and how to calculate through the fire pump and how to model a standpipe and how to calculate through a standpipe. So those are on the list for next Tuesday, but I strongly encourage you to think through what you've done so far on the homework, what you got stuck on, what we talked about in class, and what you're afraid we didn't talk about. Any emails that you can send me ahead of time with a heads up of things you'd like to cover will get added, but it's not too late even next Tuesday morning. Sound good to everyone?
Sounds good.
Yes.
Very good. Well, let me let you go. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you all next Tuesday. Thanks, everyone.
You too. Thanks.
Can I ask a quick question? Just can I get rewind a little bit? Not so much about
Sure.
today, but just a general
Yeah.
question here. I seem to be having an issue with the dimensions and not being able to edit a dimension to change something.
Cool.
Let me share my screen with you here.
Okie doke. Let's see. I need to ask you to do that. Let me
Okay.
make you the presenter. Make presenter. Yes.
That should show you here.
Yep.
Okay.
Can I make
So,
that bigger? Yes, I gotcha. So fire away.
so
What do you
as an
want?
example here, I clicked on my coupling here and I didn't get the dimensions that I wanted. I wanted to check it off the wall here.
Yep.
To add a dimension here, right? An align
Yep.
dimension.
Yep.
And let's pick the face of that. Down here, pick the wall. And I throw a dimension on here somewhere. But now when I click on it,
Right.
I get
Okay.
this.
So Nathan, here's the trick. Revit is gonna let you change that dimension, but it says if you pick on the dimension, I'm confused. Did you want me to move the wall, or did you want me to move the coupling, or did you want me to sort of smush the difference between them?
It looks like it's telling me it wants to know if I want to lie about the text and just manually replace the text.
Right. But what you want to do is don't pick on the dimension.
Okay.
Cancel this. Go pick on the coupling. Now, do you see the dimension changed
Oh,
to edit mode?
okay. Gotcha. Somewhere I missed that.
So and that'll be useful. That's like, I'm so glad you asked the question. That's like built in. It's very, very important and very, very useful. You're dimensioning an object to an object. If you want to change the dimension, you got to tell me which object wants to move based on your changing that dimension.
Gotcha.
And pay attention to what you're dimensioning, right? If you
Mhm.
picked, if you thought you picked the coupling, but you picked the pipe and then you picked the wall, picking the coupling won't light up that dimension because you didn't dimension the
Right, 'cause
coupling,
it's not attached to it.
right? So just pay attention. You are dimensioning from an object to an object. And if you want to change the dimension between them, you pick one or the other object and it'll give you that edit on the dimension.
Excellent. Thank you.
You,
While I got you here, um, I got a ceiling height in here, but I'm having some trouble being able to edit it.
um,
I thought it could just, well, now it's going to work. Never mind. It wasn't working. Now it's working. Well, thank you.
and you're welcome. I like those ones too.
Like taking your car to the mechanic, right?
Yes,
Always works in the test drive.
you got it.
Thank you
Super.
much.
You're most welcome. Tom, are you still there? Did you have another question? I think Tom might have walked away. Very good. I'll see you on Tuesday. Have a great
All right.
weekend, Nathan.
See you then. You too.
Bye.